Thank you, Jeff. All right, so right away, CBD 101. We love putting this on to educate people. Even since the beginning here, we saw an industry where nowadays there's a lot of misinformation, but before there was just no information. Nobody really knew what CBD was, but they had heard that, okay, it can help with inflammation, or maybe it can help with brain health, and people didn't know why, and people didn't understand it. So we started taking it upon ourselves, since we were kind of at the forefront of the industry, to start educating based on what we had learned. And that kind of spiraled into these presentations that we'd give. My involvement with Enlita Farms and selling them and being a part of Call LLC, which is our company, has been, I wanted to support something positive. I wanted to support something quality. I wanted to support something good for people. And moreover, I wanted to teach people. So I was actually a martial arts instructor for 5 years before any of this. So I got down kind of how to instruct, how to teach people, how to talk in front of crowds is kind of a bonus. But I wanted to use that to try to educate. So before we get into the main part of the presentation, I like to go over what is CBD oil. It's a nutritional supplement that is made from industrial hemp, and that's actually our first answer in the trifold that we have here. Industrial hemp is a specific type of hemp, though. So it's part of the family of plants called cannabis, which includes marijuana, but hemp specifically has to have less than 0.3% of a compound called THC. So anybody who knows what THC is, that's the good stuff, right? That's the one that makes you high. And not everybody wants that, which is why CBD is so huge. It can have really positive effects, but it doesn't have that high. So in order to have CBD oil, it needs to be made from a non-psychoactive version of cannabis, which is industrial hemp. It's called a cannabinoid. So in hemp, there are a lot of different things that are like CBD. There's CBDA, CBN, THC again, CBC. These are called cannabinoids, and they all kind of have different qualities to them. It's this fun little 3-letter thing that lets you categorize all these different compounds and kind of what they do and how they work. And there's over 100. But the most well-known one, and which is why you're here, is CBD. And I like to mention this as kind of a fun fact. It was once a lot more popular. Before the prohibition of hemp happened, people used this stuff. We actually found a bottle of cannabis oil that was being sold, and it was from like the early 1900s and had the old text and everything, and it said cannabis oil, and I was really impressed to find it. But it's strange, because the answer for a lot of the problems we have today is actually in the past, and we find that a lot in this industry. Before I go, one of the biggest things, I used to have this at the end of the presentation, and I put it at the beginning because this is arguably the most important thing you can take away from this whole presentation, and that is, the different types of oil. Also said, which CBD oil is the best? The answer is right here. You'll notice that there are no brand names here. It's about a type. The first type is called isolate. Like the name implies, it only makes use of one cannabinoid, which is CBD, it's good, but it's not good. It loses its strength over time because there is only one compound that's working in there. Like I said, there's hundreds of cannabinoids that work together normally to create what happens in CBD oil, but in isolate, you only have one. It's common to be modified. So if you're looking at flavored CBDs or stuff that's water soluble is a big one now. The nanotechnology they're putting into it is getting bigger and bigger, and I have my own thoughts on that. But those are usually attributed to isolate products. And there are no entourage effects. Like I mentioned, there's hundreds of cannabinoids, and then there's more compounds on top of that, which are present in hemp, and you get none of those if you use isolate. The next type is a little bit better. It's called broad spectrum oil. So it makes use of an array of cannabinoids and compounds, but the main thing about it is that it doesn't have THC. Now, as we mentioned, THC is the thing that's getting you high. So it's a good thing, right? Well, not really. You see, in hemp, the psychoactive effects of THC, once they're below 0.3%, they're blocked. So in industrial hemp, the THC, the psychoactive effects, they don't get into your body. All you get is the positive effects. So broad spectrum is kind of a pointless kind of project, because without the THC, you're missing that stimulation of the neuroreceptors in the brain. So again, it loses strength over time because it's missing parts, and it's often modified as well. You see, with broad spectrum, they'll let it have taste sometimes, but they'll pull X, Y, and Z out, or they'll keep those in, and it'll be a colorless, tasteless, scentless oil. It's kind of a mix and match. I've seen a lot of different kinds. They have different colors too. Gosh, I've seen what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be amber, a golden color. We heard about a purple one. I wouldn't take that. CBD oil shouldn't be purple. Every color of the rainbow. It's very strange. But it has some entourage effects, so it mixes together kind of well, but it's missing pieces. And finally, at the end here, the best type is called full spectrum CBD oil. This is the best one. This one has it all. It has all naturally occurring compounds. Keyword, natural. They don't add stuff into this, because as it turns out, it works without adding stuff into it. That's kind of the idea of natural. It has all the compounds, which are the cannabinoids, but also vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, fatty acids, all sorts of good stuff. It's really impressive how much is packed into that plant that the body can use. It works as a long-term solution, so we've yet to see anybody be like, oh, mine's not working anymore, which is great. And it's full of the entourage effects. So those are the three types, and you can actually find a spot to write those down on your sheets as well, which is good to memorize. And then what does CBD do is the next question that we get. You see, if you've gone on Google or you've asked anyone, everyone will give you a different answer, and it always cures everything, right? It's very crazy. It was crazy when we started 2 years ago. This is what the list looked like 2 years ago. I haven't bothered to update it because it just, you can do a Google search and you can find 3 times this stuff, you know? It's much easier to look at it in terms of properties. That way you're able to make a little bit more sense. And this is another part that you can take a note on if you'd like. The first property of CBD oil is it's non-psychoactive, so there's no high. The next one is antioxidant. So this means that it's protecting your cells. That's the second big property. Another great one is immune health. It is immunomodulatory, so it boosts your immune system. It helps you resist infections, bacteria, viruses, so on and so forth. Anti-inflammatory. This is a huge one. We really believe that inflammation is at the root of all illness. So once you're able to quell that inflammation, your body is able to reach homeostasis that much easier. And generally, a lot of things can go away if you can cure that inflammation. Antiemetic, this is a great one. Nausea. Nausea's off. I just had it the other day. Guess what I took? CBD oil. It worked pretty well. It's neuroprotective. So this is a huge one. I mean, they're all huge, but this is a really huge one. Brain cells. So it can sometimes stop or slow degeneration of brain cells. So you can pick from a hat of neurological disorders, and CBD it's reported to have an effect. I actually have more on Alzheimer's and dementia on our website. I did a blog post about it and how CBD slows or stops. They did research, slows or stops the progression of it, and in some cases reverses it. Anticonvulsant, this is how it was introduced a lot. The FDA-approved version of CBD is for seizures and Dravet syndrome and stuff like that. So it's very good at that. And the last one is anxiolytic. Another article I did goes over that. It's anti-anxiety. Just about anybody who's taken CBD oil has felt that calming, tempering effect and less stress overall. But I always say that it's much better to go over these properties than navigate this list, because using something like properties list, you can look at how it's neuroprotective and you can figure, okay, ADHD, Alzheimer's, antipsychotic, anxiety, autism, bipolar disorder. You can start going down these lists, and it starts to kind of categorize these things into ways that CBD might help. Again, sleep, exactly. It's huge for sleep.
It says sleep disorders on there.
It says sleep disorders on there.
Just doesn't name properly.
Well, sleep is a complicated one. There's a lot of different things that happen to the body when you're deprived of sleep. Sometimes it's as simple as insomnia, but sometimes there are other factors, like you're getting up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, or you have inflammation and your back hurts when you sleep on your back. My father has that. CBD can deal with inflammatory types of issues to make your sleep better by addressing something that isn't necessarily your sleep. So it's something that I end up categorizing. But excellent bringing that up, thank you. So this is another new section, Dosing 101. We did bring samples for everybody, and it's your choice whether or not you'd like to take them. I want to talk about the 3 levels of dosing. There's a little bit, most people, if you're just slightly ailing, you'd use a microdose, you use a smaller milligram, and that's 0.5 milligram to 10 milligrams a day. A standard dose would be 10 to 100, and then a macro dose, the big one, is 100 to 800. And yes, there are people who need 800 milligrams. There are types of cancers, people who are stage 4, who actually we've administered 300 milligrams daily to, which if you look at our largest bottle of 3,000 milligram, anybody who's seen it out there on the floor, that's a 10-day supply for those people, which is, it's like, geez. We recommend, 1 serving in the morning, or the recommendation here, and Christian is excellent, anybody at Total Health really, they're excellent to ask about dosing because they deal with hundreds and hundreds of customers, and they've figured out kind of who needs what even better than we have. I believe they suggest 5 drops 3 times a day to start, which will be half a dropper in a whole day. So I'm going to have Jeff pass out the samples here. Once you have it, you can hold on to it, and then I'll explain what we do. And if you know what it is and how to take it, by all means, go ahead.
So the 5 drops.
Yes.
How many milligrams is that then?
5 drops. It depends on the bottle. Let me grab my bottle here. So this bottle, this is my bottle, it's 1,000 milligrams. The recommended amount that you start with in a day is half of this dropper, that's 1 serving. So the recommendation when you're starting is to take about this much over the course, here, I'll try to hold this up. Take about this much over the course of a day in 3 different servings. So you'd take about this much 3 times a day for a total of this much. I hope that makes sense.
So what is this?
That is 16.6 milligrams.
So how should one distribute this? One dosage?
Yeah, you can do it in 1 dose, absolutely. That's an excellent starting dose. If you're unsure but you do want to take it, take half.
Is this mixed with olive oil or any?
There is hemp extract and MCT oil in there, and that's it. The Enlita Farms product only has those 2 things in the oil. We don't put anything else in, we don't take anything else out.
So it tastes terrible and
Some people find that the MCT annoys their throat a bit. Some people definitely don't like the taste of hemp. But
because you're taking it in such small amounts, we find very seldom anybody do not like the taste. I tell people it tastes between a cross between flax and olive oil, but that's a sample. Please try it. One of the reasons we like this brand is the fact that they do use MCT oil. It's a more structured oil. We do like olive oil, and some of their brands do use that, but we do prefer the MCT oil. And one more thing I want to just say, if you're able to hold it, we would recommend at least 30 seconds. We would prefer even longer. I like telling people if they could do 2 minutes underneath your tongue, then fully swallowing it. Do not spit any out if you can't. If it really does bother you, and almost nobody says so, drink a little water afterwards. But it really has such a small taste. You are literally drinking or taking in such a tiny amount.
It says it's an anti-inflammatory. So a person who has Crohn's disease cannot take anti-inflammatory medication because it irritates, and then it takes 6 months to get them back on track again.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this work for Crohn's disease, for instance?
As someone who isn't licensed medically or anything, you know, I can't make any recommendations or claims about it, but one of the big differences between anti-inflammatory medication and then the effects of CBD is that it's not targeting the receptor sites that medication is doing.
Okay.
CBD is reinforcing the endocannabinoid system in your body. So
More into normal homeostasis.
yeah, it's influencing something that's in you. I'm going to go over it in a second. I talk about it, but that's an excellent question. Still, I'd speak with a doctor or a pharmacist about that to make sure.
Do they know enough about it?
No.
They don't know
No.
much about nutrition.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Sorry, they don't really. Pharmacists maybe.
Well, they're licensed professionals, so I get in big trouble if I say
know,
anything.
I
So
just try to understand too before.
You have to find a functional medicine doctor?
Integrative,
Integrative or,
did you unlock that?
yeah, functional.
or
Can't tell
natural
the time.
health
Right.
medicine clinic,
Yes,
like,
you're right.
just like we have here. if you
Yes,
desire.
that's what I'm gonna check.
Yeah, by all means. All right, so the ECS, the endocannabinoid system. This is one of the most important things to understand about CBD, because CBD oil is working with this. It is the conductor system. It coordinates your body's response to illnesses. It's really a quality of life system. If this thing is out of whack, you don't feel very good. Your life is not going well. The more in tune this is, the better you feel on a day-to-day basis. Because one of the things that I say a lot nowadays is your body knows what's wrong with you. You know, if you have joint pain, if you have inflammatory disease, if you have autoimmune, your body, it knows something's wrong. It doesn't always have the juice to fix it. It always doesn't have the systems or the readily available compounds to fix it. This is the system that oftentimes goes out and deals with these problems. So you want to charge this up, and that's what CBD does in simplest terms. It controls a lot of things. I mentioned it's a quality of life system: appetite, digestion, memory, inflammation, mood, motivation. Sleep's on there again. And a lot of these things overlap with the principles and things that CBD claims it can help with. 3 things can put this system at risk and damage it: high stress, lack of exercise, and poor diet are numbers 1, 2, and 3. And I'm sure nobody has ever experienced those, and definitely not all 3. It's very easy to have all 3 of those going for you in this day and age. So what I believe is not necessarily an outburst of illness, but an outburst of people's ECS systems going down. It's connected to the main things are immune deficiency, neurological deficiency, and nervous system deficiency. But I like to put endocrine deficiency in there as well, because there's a hormone regulation that happens with this system. They've actually been doing some studies to try to connect the two and figure out why people's thyroids are going off and why the endocrine system is not doing its job and why hormones aren't being regulated. And they're finding some interesting connections between that and the ECS system, which I figure for some people is very helpful to hear. But and then here's the last step of that phase. You take CBD oil, and then within your body it creates these endogenous cannabinoids. So there's 2 main ones. They're called anandamide, which is the bliss molecule. Ananda is Sanskrit for the word bliss. That's what they decided to name it when they found out about it. And then the other one is 2-arachidinyl-glycerol, my favorite word in the presentation. You can abbreviate that 2-AG. It's the same thing, really, and that's a secondary cannabinoid that is produced when you take CBD oil. They bind to specific receptors in the body, CB1 and CB2, and then they start maintaining pleasure, food intake, reproduction, sleep, pain relief, and they're found naturally without CBD. They are found in breast milk and chocolate. Now, I'm not an advocate for chocolate or anything, but you know, there's a certain high that you feel when you eat chocolate, or when you do meditation, or when you practice yoga or exercise, and this is that ECS system kind of being rejuvenated, kind of getting charged. And as it turns out, at the beginning of your life, you are experiencing that charge, but also during your life, you know, through chocolate. All right, no, I don't mean it. I don't want to be the guy you came and said, "Oh, the presenter said eat chocolate, it's good for you." No, I'm not. You can find cannabinoids in chocolate. All right, so at the end here, when it comes to CBD oil, I've done a little bit of research on it. I'm kind of biased. I prefer Enlita Farms, and there's a really good reason why. They only offer full spectrum products, like I mentioned in the beginning. And even amongst full spectrum products, there are some that are better than others because of how you grow and process the hemp and how you extract it. You can still get even more from the hemp plant if you do it correctly. Go figure. We only use 2 ingredients, hemp extract and MCT oil. That's it. We don't add anything else in. We don't take anything out. Yes?
The hemp is a plant.
Yeah.
It's only a plant. Get the stuff from.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You can't, and that's a great thing because you can't synthesize it. They love to synthesize CBD. You don't want synthesized CBD. There's nothing good about that word. All products are grown in the USA in Longmont, Colorado, and that's the only place they've been before you see them at Total Health. And our highest value, again, it's helping you guys. We started by bringing this education to as many people as we could because we wanted to help. You know, especially today, everyone's getting into it. Everyone's growing hemp and everyone's selling hemp and everyone's extracting CBD oil, and some people, you don't know whether it was done in a commercial kitchen or whether they did it in their basement. You know, there's a wide variety. So I say, hey, find testing and find a community around the CBD oil you're interested in. And you know, I know this stuff can be a little on the pricey side, but don't let that guide your choice, because people are happy to sell, you know, some stuff for $20 and say it's CBD when it isn't.
How do you know?
How do you know? Like I said, testing. There is certified testing for all of our products and any good product. And then make sure there's a community. Make sure that and it's great to go to a nutrition store like Total Health and say, hey, what do people say about this? And if they say, well, no one's ever used it before, that's not a good one to buy. Don't be the first one to do that. That's my general recommendation. So you can find, I've done quite a few articles on CBD and how it might help with various different types of things. There's a video of this presentation, and actually I've recorded this presentation and it'll be up on the site in a couple of days here if you want to go back and review the info. And it's at calledwellness.com, and that's actually on your brochure there. It's on the back. And yeah, thank you so much for coming out to listen to me talk and teach about CBD oil. If you've got questions, now is the time to ask. Otherwise, you can head out to the main floor. I believe they're doing a little discount on the CBD oil today for Enlita Farms, and you can pick some up, ask questions by all means. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Once you start taking this, is
Yes.
this something you take on a regular basis or just as needed?
I recommend taking it regularly. I really do. You can do it as needed, but your system needs time to use it. So if you keep introducing it to your body, you'll keep getting solid results. But if you take a break for a long time, you may have to build back up.
I've
So-
been taking it for over a year,
Yeah.
every day.
Uh-huh. And? You feel like $1 million?
I have done so many things though to help me feel better. I'm not sure, but I think the CBD does help.
I'm glad to hear that.
Under the tongue?
Yes.
Right here.
Question.
Yes.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Lots of positives. Now, here's the only negative I heard about CBD in general. I have atrial fib, so therefore I've taken a blood thinner, and they said, CBD is not for you. Now, what does that mean to you?
You know, I've heard about that, and I would absolutely be careful. Have you heard anything, Christian?
No, I have not.
No.
But you don't want to play Russian roulette with your life,
Right.
of course. But this is a plant, and we are not. This is not a drug. So you probably should talk to your pharmacist. Do not talk to your doctor. He or she's not going to know. But we have not heard that. But I would not want you to be putting yourself in a dangerous position. We are not aware of this being a blood thinner. Maybe they know something that we don't. I doubt it, but I'm not privy to that. I'm going to be straight with you.
The only problems that we've ever seen with blood thinners and CBD is when people take CBD and they jump off whatever they were on. Some people think that it works like that. Yeah. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I just